didn't want you to like accidentally pour it directly on the mat.
Was that a concern? The concern was I was going to dump the whiskey?
It's down the side of the glass. But yeah, I think you forgot there was a glass there. You're like, ha ha.
Thank you for joining us this week, and welcome to
Bottle Bond! Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome back to Bottle Bond! Here we are. All right, so this is going to be a good time. We kind of shift things up a little bit. Yep. Listeners, readers, you might notice a little bit of difference because we like reorganized how we were sitting, and then we took a bunch of time off, and then the world was on fire, and so we're having a whole bunch of fun just kind of coming back and getting inebriated. Adam, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, actually. Yeah, well, other than the fact that I can't seem to track where my camera went. I'm like looking where things used to be and whatever. I'm like, oh, that's totally not the camera that we're using today.
Yep. It's like when you get in a car you just bought and you try to step on the gas of your old car and you're like, wah.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, but things are going pretty okay. It's been busy, a little bit chaotic, but otherwise pretty good.
Boy, that's for sure. I'll move my mic a little bit.
I have continued to maintain bad habits, though, so every time I go out, I pick up a lot of bottles I probably shouldn't be collecting still, but you know.
Which brings us here today. Yep. What a wonderful excuse to drink some alcohol.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to so we're doing a new thing. We're going to play around with some Texas whiskeys. We're going to try a bunch of them, maybe do some distillery deep dives, some tours, whatever it is that we can get on the lot. And I think today we're going to start by trying some Rebecca Creek.
This is one of the groups we met, right? We met these folks. Mm-hmm. So this is they were super nice, right?
Yeah.
They were like at some point.
They were at the Bastards Ball, right?
Yeah. And I think they're down in San Antonio or something, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. So we were supposed to go. Ideally, we were going to make time to go see them, and then of course, you know, holidays and hiatus and whatever. So
hopefully we'll be able to get out and we'll get to see them. We did have a lot of love for their juice though when we were at the tasting, so I'm really excited to give these a shot. They're a fantastic little local distillery. Been around just for a couple of years, 2009.
Yep.
So they're putting out some really, really great
product.
You're
showing your age. That's
right.
Maybe a couple more than a few years, right?
I mean, you know, it's not
16. They've been around 16 years.
Oh God, it doesn't feel that long. But so they're man.
Yep.
they're the distillery could drive.
Yep.
And it feels like it's brand new.
Yep.
All right. Tell us about that bottle.
Well, we decided to start with the staple, right? So this is the Bottled in Bond.
Yeah.
And let's see. Rebecca Creek Distillery is proud to introduce our Rebecca Creek, Texas Bottled in Bond bourbon. This bourbon was fermented, distilled, and aged for over 4 years in the Texas Hill Country. Twice distilled in Christian Carl Cooper pot still. This bourbon offers a diverse palate that surrounds the unmistakable spice of an extra high rye, complemented by soft vanilla undertones. Our grain-to-glass bourbon was aged in our bonded facility in San Antonio and is finally ready for us to share with fellow Texas whiskey enthusiasts. From our family to yours. Cheers. Distilled from 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley.
Hell yeah.
Well, and with that, let's just dive right on in.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
It's even got like this really cool little like throwback to the OG like Bottled in Bond era where it was like a legal certification thing. It's like it looks like it's got the old school stamps and stuff on it.
It does. It looks like it's been approved.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
All right. Well, hold on.
Fine. I'll wait. I'm sorry. I'm just very excited. There we go. That was pretty good. The pop was good. The lead up was.
I mean, the tearing. That
was so funny. Thank you, sir.
Trying to get a little bit better about an actual half ounce here.
Yeah. As our listeners know, as much as we joke about a half ounce, it's also important to drink responsibly.
Yes. And it gets real hard to have a conversation when you both are, pretty hardy way through the bottle. So
that is exactly correct.
Yeah.
All right.
We gotta do the thing, right? You want to do the
We can do that.
The age and warm up and whatever.
We can totally let some of the vapors condense a little bit for sure.
Of course. Then I also, in rearranging the studio here, I managed to put our Glencairn somewhere else. So,
Oh, yeah.
back to the old school rocks glass because
That's all right. It's bourbon, man.
Yeah.
Bourbon's good out of a rocks glass. Don't get me wrong. You can get some stuff out of a Glencairn you can't always get from a rocks glass.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So, what do you smell?
Yeah, I can definitely get that vanilla pretty quick.
Oh yeah, like right in the face.
Yep. It doesn't have a fierce burn to it, which is nice. Like I like the idea that it's
No, it's got that clean ozone
Yeah.
feel, like scent to it, right?
yeah.
Like a vanilla-y ozone, like. I don't
Not a
wanna
lot of fruit though. Like I don't get a ton of fruit.
No, there's something sweet there, but it's not fruit.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's just the vanilla.
Yeah, like brown sugary maybe. A little bit of the oil on the tongue.
Oh, that's interesting.
I like it.
So on the palate, that's really tasty. Very sweet, candy forward, smooth, no burn.
Yep.
On the finish, still no burn, just a really, really smooth whiskey. Like if you're worried about harsh, Rebecca Creek Bottled and Bond is a wonderful whiskey if you're just worried you don't want a harsh pull. That's really, really good. But did you get a little bit of like almost vegetal astringents in the finish?
That maybe needs some explanation for me. What's the question?
So on my palate, it was smooth and it was sweet and it was ambrosia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I swallowed, and then there was almost like a sour astringency that just sort of went right there at
that's
the
what I was
end.
getting at with the oily bit, right? Like there's sort of sometimes you get the thing where like the you could definitely tell, like you can feel like some of the like oils from the casking or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna sip on that for a second. That's really, really good.
One of the other things I wanted to do, I've gotten really interested in trying to make a better history of all these things. Like this started as like a big like hit the ground running. Let's go find some cool stuff.
Sure.
And then like now it started as a like let's do that. Then it turned into a let's tell a story, and now it's turned into a like I want to actually share more info. So one of the things I wanted to try to track down a little bit more reliably was the I want to be able to like track things like the price of the bottle and stuff, because a lot of these are like smaller places will have to charge more, but then other places are getting up and running and they take the NMGP route or whatever, and so their startup costs are lower because they can start selling right away, and so it's like I find it's probably worthwhile to have a reference point for people on what something could cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to.
Do you remember what you paid for the Bottled and Bond?
I don't, but I'm pretty certain I got both of those at the place across the street.
Oh, very cool.
And their app wasn't loading, so I can't look there. But, yeah, I think they're both like local buys, and what the double barrel one I think was a little bit like it was not allocated, but it was like a limited run, so they keep it in their back shelf that you have to go like look for specifically.
Okay, so it may be. The price may reflect a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. A little bit of info on the distillery itself.
Mm-hmm.
Started in 2009, all that time ago. Steve Ison, or Ison, I-S-O-N. Dude, he basically was like, hey, we're going to make a best of the best style, top shelf, premium whiskey here in Texas. And that's what he set out to do. He named the distillery after Rebecca Creek, an actual creek down there near San Antonio. It's famous for having limestone filtered water, and it's right there in the Texas Hill Country. It is one of the largest craft distilleries in Texas. It's distributed in 17 states. It's really an example of like Texas distilling success.
Nice.
Like,
yeah, there's not a lot of Texas whiskey that makes its way out. Right?
Yeah.
I get the feeling that like. I don't know if it's just that we drink enough of it here already or what,
hey!
but like I definitely don't see a ton of widespread of the higher quality stuff anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you see Balcones,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Balcones is known on a global stage. Like,
Right.
people know Balcones from across the world.
Yeah. Well, it's also not one of my favorites either. Like,
That's true. I've got a lot of love for Balcones, but we'll do a Balcones episode another time. Yeah, so distributed in 17 states. They were one of the early Texas distillers. When Texas whiskey really started coming around, I guess in the early 2000s.
Yep.
They were one of the first ones to like really get into it. And they really just compete with the major brands in the area, like the Garrison Brothers, Balcones, and Still Austin.
Okay.
Of course, Still Austin we've talked about many times. I'm a huge fan of Still Austin.
Yeah, same.
And then Balcones, of course, we just talked about.
Yeah, I love. I love most of those actually. I've only had a couple of Garrison Brothers, but I have a couple we'll get to eventually.
Yeah.
Now that we've started a little mini series on it,
Yeah,
we can
to
talk about those.
I got a couple free, or I traded for them, I should say, but they're a voucher for a distillery tour.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so like we can do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody will love to see that when we can get that content out on the show.
Nice.
And
then
then
we've got some mobile rig stuff, so that actually might be possible.
Yeah, I mean that's the best, man. When I gotta say, I'm looking forward to like walking around a distillery with a distiller and talking to them about their passion. That I'm excited about.
Same.
So the process Rebecca Creek uses, they do use a 1,000-gallon traditional copper pot still, a Christian Carl. They double distill everything that we've talked about, like triple distilling versus single distilling when we talk about like Irish whiskey and how it removes more and more of the oils, and some would argue it makes it smoother, but others would argue you lose more of like that organic taste. What they do is when they first make it, they proof it down to 120.
Okay.
And then once it's proofed to 120 proof, then they put it in barrels and they age it.
Okay.
It gets aged in number 4 charred oak American oak barrels.
So it's hard char, right? Like
Yeah,
it's heavy char.
That means there's a whole bunch of burn in there.
Yep.
Which means we should get even deeper vanillas, even deeper sugar notes, which I think really did come through in the bottle.
Makes you wonder if that's the natural color then too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Ooh, actually, especially with that Spanish oak right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now the double barrel, the second barrel of the double barrel is the Spanish oak, so I call it that. But yeah, that's a really good point. That color difference is intense.
Well, the other trick is like part of the reason Texas whiskey ages differently is because the seasons here, right? Like you get much more extreme heat, much more extreme cold than a lot of places. So it's apparently accelerates the aging process, right? I've heard people claim that it ages twice as fast as you do in Kentucky.
Yeah, which ages twice to 3 times as fast as you do in Scotland.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, aging is wood acts like a sponge.
Yeah, no, it's the flexing, right? It's
It's the opening and closing of pores and alcohol flowing in and out of the wood.
Yeah.
And that's what causes the aging. And so the more times that the alcohol flows in and is pulled in, it's sucked in and pushed out, the faster the aging process happens.
Yep.
In Scotland, that happens once a year
Yep.
because their weather is very consistent.
Yep.
In Texas, that happens a couple times a week.
Yeah, I mean, this week is going to be like 4 months of aging in Scotland, right?
Yeah.
It was 60. Tomorrow is 28.
It was 60. Then it was 40. Then it was 70. Then it was 50.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things age very quickly.
Yep.
It's a little nuts. These get 4 to 7 years.
Okay.
That's what they normally age at for Rebecca Creek. They do 4 to 7 years.
They're grain to glass, right?
Yeah. No, kind of. They put a lot of focus into the grains they use, but I don't think that they they don't grow it.
Okay.
For sure.
So yeah, I saw a reference somewhere about grain to glass, and I was like, "Well, but if they're not growing it, that doesn't quite
then it doesn't
qualify."
count.
Yeah.
There are people who will talk about grain to glass in a we source our grain kind of way, and they may do that.
Yeah.
Kind of like Still Austin is very specific about like what grains it uses from where.
They've got like certain farms; those are the only farms they work with.
Exactly.
They'll have like agreements. Yeah, so it's sort of like the whole ecosystem is effectively the same, but it's not quite the same as like my field is over there, my distillery is over here, my still is over there. Like
Yeah. No, their next big like local claim is that they use limestone filtered water. Like that's a big thing that when they're proofing down after it's aged and they're adding the water to get it down to the ABV they want to release it at, they're using limestone filtered water for that. And so that's like a big local claim, especially with Rebecca Creek being a limestone filtered creek.
Well, there's a couple of places that do that, right? Like I think there's Widow Jane or one of them is like pretty notorious for that.
Oh yeah, water can be a really big deal to the distiller. Some distillers get really, really into their water, others less so. But I think a lot of the famous distilleries will talk about how good the water is that they use.
Yeah.
And I've talked multiple times about how one of my favorite facts about Scottish distilleries is there's only 2 that use hard water.
Yeah.
And like that's the sort of thing that I think is really cool. So.
Well, I mean, it's one of the few things that you can really tweak, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can grow your crops, but there's only so much you could do to make them exactly the same all the time. There's only so much you could do with that.
And historically, like the water was what made it so you could make alcohol. Like there's a reason that distilleries are on the banks of creeks and rivers and ports and
Plays a huge part in the process.
Yeah, if you don't have access to water, you don't have access to alcohol.
Yeah.
And so, and then it makes sense. I mean, like people are proud of their water anyway. My dad lives in Nebraska, and when I go up there, he's like, have some of that water.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Yep.
It's fine. So it makes sense that they would be kind of.
I mean, if you come up from Texas, I can understand that we have an E. coli outbreak in our water system here, like 3 to 5 times a year.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah. These guys use the Edwards Aquifer limestone filtered water. They're also local, but that doesn't mean that it's got any of those problems.
Well, yeah. Being like FDA regulated, they're somehow a little bit more held accountable than other entities.
True. Plus, at 120 proof, you could just dump it on the E. coli. The E. coli would die anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's not a game I want to try, but I assume the science will work.
Yeah.
So.
I think we need to open that other bottle. Shall I do this one?
Yeah, man, it's on your side.
Nice. All right, Rebecca Creek double barrel bourbon whiskey, Spanish oak, which I can assume is the second barrel, and if it's not, then that's pretty weird.
Well, it has to be legally.
Yeah, true.
I learned that already.
Proud of you, sir. Okay, so this is a limited release. 118 proof. That's not bad. This is bottle number 159. 59.5 AB, 45 ABV. It looks like barrel 20 0067. All right. Rebecca Creek Distillery had the opportunity to age their bourbon for up to 4 years in new Spanish oak barrels as a rare approach to acquire a taste and color that resembles whiskey twice its age. The bourbon was then aged for 2 more years in second-turn American oak barrels to complete a unique dual-aged maturation process full of robust flavor. Spanish oak is a much softer wood with wider grains that absorb more whiskey than a typical American oak barrel, causing the whiskey to easily pull a stronger wood palate with pronounced notes of vanilla, warm pecans, and a dark chocolate finish. Nice. Sip and enjoy the rare experience with fellow bourbon enthusiasts. Hey, you're a fellow bourbon enthusiast. Hey. This is going to be perfect.
I did realize, though, so technically, right, it just has to be in new oak. It doesn't actually, there's no actually to where the oak is sourced.
No, new American oak barrels.
Okay.
So the reason it's called a double barrel is because it went through both of them.
Right, but the first 4 was in Spanish oak. So that seems like a homework point to dig into.
This is a good homework point. Technically, it says, had the opportunity to age their bourbon for up to 4 years in new Spanish oak barrels.
And then?
The bourbon was then aged for 2 more years in second-turn American oak barrels.
And second turn meaning they had already been used before.
That's a great
Which
question.
is also a technicality that they can do.
To complete no, because it's first fill of American oak barrels.
For the first fill oak barrels, I think.
First fill American oak barrels.
Okay.
Because, you can't make bourbon with Yamazaki. Or, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Mizunara?
With Mizunara. With Yamazaki. Yeah, no, with Mizunara. That's a really great question. So this is labeled as bourbon whiskey. Now, we know that the whiskey has implications, but bourbon should have implications as well, including that it was aged for 2 years in new American oak barrels.
Homework.
That's a great question.
I mean, I hope we're not making enemies, but it's a good homework assignment.
Yeah, no, we got to find out. And these are guys that I'm going to want to talk to anyway, so that's fantastic. All right, let's give this a try.
Yeah, put the plastic to the side. I'm sure our listeners are fans of that.
Yeah, I'm crinkling it all over. Everyone's loving hearing that. Okay. Yep. All right, now, let's see. That was the sound of paper. Now here comes the pop. Aww. Let me try again. Oh, that was better. Forced, but better.
Straight up is how I usually pop.
Oh, I normally do like the pulling.
I think that takes more pressure off.
Oh, for me, it always feels like it releases more suddenly.
No.
That was a half ounce. Yeah, see? Half ounce.
Thank you.
You got a thing at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, like I'm just not moving my glass. I didn't want you to like accidentally pour it directly on the mat.
Was that a concern? The concern was I was going to dump the whiskey?
It's down the side of the glass.
Listeners, I don't know why. I'm just clumsy lately.
You're just trying to be goofy. I think you forgot there was a glass there. You're like, ha ha.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah. And then party foul. All right. Fine. Oh, if we did, since we're going to compare, might as well compress the sets as well.
Yep. So while we're doing that, I double checked. So this is about 50, and that's about 60.
50 and 60. Huh?
Yeah, give or take.
That's not
I don't
bad.
know if that's what I spent, but that's what they are currently listed. So
I mean, 50's not bad.
Yeah.
And that's an approachable bottle. It's not the sort of thing you'd buy for a party, but like maybe for a friend's birthday.
Well, yeah, or like it'd be a good gift. It'd be a good it's a good thing for people who like if you know somebody's palate, it'd be a good.
If
fit.
you do the networking thing and you bring a bottle of whiskey because someone introduced you to someone, and you give this is the great.
Brought
thing.
this from Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, I brought this from Texas. You can it's a really great little local Texas distillery right out of San Antonio.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the sort of stuff that adds a little bit of character to that gift, and this is perfect for that.
Exactly.
You ready?
So, yeah.
Let's do it.
Toastier.
Oh, sweet Mary.
Definitely more woody, but toasted too. More toasting.
Oh yeah, like marshmallows. Oh, and graham cracker.
Some cherry? You smell cherry?
Okay. Fresh cherry, not like candied cherry, like fresh or like fresh fruit cherry, like when it's still tart.
Yep. More burn.
It's got a higher ABV.
Yeah, fair.
100 to 118.
Okay. Yeah.
But even that little bit of burn. Now, I tend to be pretty calloused. How did you feel? And by that I mean like I don't.
Yeah.
That burns don't hit me as much. Too many years of gargling with Lafroig. So the question is, I feel it a little bit, but it still seems like it's very, very manageable. Like I would put that in the realm of burn as. I would compare that to like a Jim Beam.
No, it doesn't. It's less like caustic than Jim Beam.
You think it's even smoother than Jim Beam?
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm not a huge Jim Beam person.
Me neither, but I'm kind of just thinking like, what level of burn is that? Maybe like a shot of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. Whatever, like.
Yeah.
There's like the barrel proofer thing where you like, they're in it because make your eyes water or whatever, and that's
I mean,
that's not it. That's
I do that. Like I love a good Octomore. I love super high proof stuff. I like the sort of like. I mean, yeah, I'm the guy that I drink White Dog occasionally because I want to taste. I want to taste it when I get So I'm that guy.
You want to taste nothing ever again? Yeah.
I think it tastes like popcorn butter, but Buffalo Trace Mash Bill number 1. Number 1 smells just like popcorn.
Yeah, it tastes just like the outer layer of skin cells in your mouth sloughing off. Yeah.
Well. That
potato,
may be
potato, I guess.
Sure,
right?
fine. I mean, it's like a Wheel of Time. There's the insect he eats that only tastes right with the pinchers on because blood enhances the flavor. When it's biting your mouth and making you bleed it. Yeah.
I do a lot of audiobooks.
Oh.
And I was doing the Wheel of Time stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I got super confused because I was like, man, this story is... I knew it's notoriously complex, but I'm so lost. And then I discovered that I had gone from book 1 to book 7, and I missed all the stuff in between. I was like, oh, yeah, that's clearly...
So you missed all of it.
There's some similar names, but, like, I don't understand anything of what's going on.
You jumped off of, like, 3 local boys charging down a hill for a forgotten civilization and came back with 3 heroes doing nation-level politics.
Yeah, I was like, goodness, this is, like, I mean...
What a ramp help.
Yeah, like he gets a lot of credit for being an in-depth author, but man, I feel like I missed a few things. And it, like the worst part, I'm gonna admit this to the world, right? The worst part is I didn't figure it out right away.
Yeah.
I figured it out like 5 hours into the second book, I think. Like, you know, like I was like, man, I
Like
just
Randolph Thor just sat
I'm just
down
like-
and rolled his Skyrim character and kept going.
I'm still just like, I'm trying, man. I'm really trying to get into this, and I'm having a hell of a time.
Oh man.
Well, and lo and behold, it's, you know.
Yeah.
Though that did tell, you know, I'm one of those people where like you can't, like I can't watch a show if somebody's like, oh, I love this. I didn't see it happening. Like you never saw the twist. If you tell me to like keep an eye out for something, I will know, right? Like there was
It ruins the whole thing because you're just waiting for it to happen.
No, I don't wait. I will literally notice it almost immediately, almost every time.
Oh.
Like people will be like, oh, it was wild, and like, oh, okay.
Oh, you're talking about someone lets you know there's a twist?
Yeah.
And so immediately you're watching the show and you figure out the twist.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know what it's going to be. Now I'm just waiting for them to confirm it.
Yeah. I mean, like, at this point, the example has aged out, so it's not as wild, but, like, somebody told me about The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that happened to me in high school, too.
And somebody's like, oh, I totally didn't expect that. Like, that's all they said.
Yeah.
But, like, I had originally gone into it going, oh, this is going to be a fun movie. Let me see and watch it. And as soon as that put my head in the headspace of, like, what's the twist? You know, and, like,
what's the twist?
Oh, yeah. During the opening scene, I was like, oh, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, so my brother walked through and was just like, oh, yeah, by the way. And I was like, you mother. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to do spoilers on this show, though I will say, if you haven't seen Sixth Sense by this point, it's maybe not on us.
I do subscribe to the idea that, like, a spoiler has, like, a couple years, right?
Yeah.
After a couple of years, it becomes fair game. But if you're that person who's, like, the first day... Like, I know a couple people who, like, their thing is they a lot of times will get invited to, like, the premieres and stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll immediately come and post all about it just so that they could top post that stuff. All of those people I have unfriended or unfollowed fully.
Sure.
Like they're fine people, but, like, to me, that's a despicable thing to do.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not dissimilar from people who just happen to know a guy at a liquor store, buy 6 bottles of Weller 12 at MSRP so they can flip them for $2.50.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No, that guy's worse.
That
guy is like, yeah, that guy's worse.
I mean, that guy's worse for sure. I'm not looking to rank them, but like, I just kind of have a general, I don't know. Lately, I've had less general patience for people who are all me and no we.
Yeah.
And I just, that's just sort of me lately.
Yep.
That being said, I think this we is great, and every time we do an episode, it's a fucking blast.
Agreed, man.
To you.
To you, buddy.
To the bond.